like to call the regular meeting of the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education to order. Can we please stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to read a statement on behalf of the school board. As the atrocities continue in the Middle East and the people of Ukraine still face the ravages of war, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education remains dedicated to our long-standing policies and practices. We have established and held to a code of conduct. This document lays out the expectations of all students, families, and educators in our district. In part, it states the responsibility to maintain and foster a climate of mutual respect and dignity for all students, regardless of actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender, or sex. As the reality of these foreign wars continue to impact countless lives, we reaffirm our commitment to providing a safe and inclusive learning environment. We encourage all students and staff to seek any and all supports they may need. We remind everyone that we are a community, and as such, our greatest strength comes from lifting each other up when times are tough. Thank you to Trustee Jaworski and Trustee Anderson for the assistance on the writing of that statement. Item 3, standing approval items. 3.1, acceptance of agenda. Do we have any deletions, directions? Consent, agenda is passed by consensus. Thank you. 3.2, approval of minutes. Can I have a recommendation? Mr. Jaworski.
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes: September 7th, 2023, special meeting, Finance and Facilities, and September 14th, 2023, the regular meeting.
Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Alexander. Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call?
Trustee Jasinski.
Yes.
Trustee Haynes.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Jaworski.
Yes.
Trustee Alexander.
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Proclamations and recognitions. 4.1, Board Proclamation, Indigenous Peoples Day. Mrs. Haynes.
Whereas the second Monday of October has traditionally been celebrated as Columbus Day, and whereas Christopher Columbus discovered a continent that had been lived upon by indigenous peoples since time immemorial, and whereas Columbus's voyage to the Americas opened the door to the destruction of the indigenous peoples' communities in the Americas, and whereas as a school district that values diversity, equity, and inclusion, the Royal Oak School Board believes the second Monday of October should instead be a celebration of the indigenous peoples in their rich history and contributions to our society. And whereas our students and community deserve a more honest observance on this day, accompanied with teaching that reframes European explorers, and whereas as an educational community that seeks to confront uncomfortable elements of our country's past honestly and earnestly, and that seeks to progress toward understanding and teaching the unvarnished history of our nation, and resolved that Royal Oak Public Schools will actively engage in the collective responsibility to teach and affirm Indigenous peoples' culture and community. Now, therefore, we, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education, do hereby proclaim Monday, October Yep, okay, sorry. I kept thinking that's not today's date. Do hereby proclaim Monday, October 9th, 2023, as Indigenous Peoples Day for Royal Oak Schools. Furthermore, we strongly encourage community partners to join communities across America in recognizing and promoting the well-being and understanding of the contributions of our Indigenous communities.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Ms. Yashinsky, any discussion? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes,
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
The motion passes.
thank you. Item 4.2, Board Proclamation, Principals Month. Mrs. Anderson.
Whereas energetic and inspiring school leadership is essential to Michigan schools in order to prepare students for success, both during their pre-K through 12 years and beyond. And whereas principals are entrusted with the educational development of young people and serve as educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, community builders, facility managers, special programs administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. And whereas principals play a vital role in the success of students by creating school environments that facilitate great teaching and learning, as well as continuous school improvement. And whereas principals make significant contributions to the success of pre-K through 12 students by acting as the liaison between the school and the community it serves, ensuring that parents in the community are aware of student and school achievements. And whereas the celebration of Principals Month honors elementary, middle, and high school principals and recognizes the importance of school leadership in ensuring every child has access to a high-quality education. And whereas during this month, we join educators, parents, and students throughout Michigan to raise awareness of the importance of educational leadership and recognize and thank the hardworking principals in Royal Oak schools who set exemplary standards of service. Now therefore, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education does hereby proclaim October 2023 as Principals Month for Royal Oak Schools.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Haynes, any discussion? Mrs. Anderson.
I'm really happy to be able to read this proclamation tonight. We have great principals in our town. I'm really amazed at the work that they do and how they contribute to the students in our community, as well as the entire community, and this proclamation is well deserved.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes,
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
The motion passes.
thank you very much. Item 5, public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place the card in the basket prior to the citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are offered a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or their designee for review, study, and possible future response. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. I have Lydia Elshikarna. I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly.
Hi, my name is Lydia Elshikarna. I have a son at ROMS in the ASD Special Education Program. I'm here because I received some concerning news on Monday. We are losing a really great staff member, Jamie Blake. And I've sat back over the years and watched as we've lost many other great members from the staff, and I believe that there is an issue. So I'm just here to voice my concerns about that. I'd like her to be granted an exit interview. I believe that you're not going to get a lot of truth from your staff due to repercussions they may feel that may be coming their way. I don't need an email or a follow-up. I would just like her to be granted an exit interview because I think there are some problems that need to be addressed.
Thank you. Jim Elam?
Hi. I'd like to defer my comments, if I may, to section 10 of the agenda, if that would be all right.
I will put you aside. Thank you. Mary Elam?
I was actually going to defer also, if that's okay. We have a whole group that would like to talk. We can wait until the end, if that's okay.
There is a second public comment on the agenda, so if you'd like to defer to the second public comment.
Yes, our group will defer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jackie Peritoni?
Looks like I'm deferring too. Thank you. To the end. Thank you.
James Allen?
Podium here?
Right here is fine. Table.
Good evening, Honorable Board. I want to begin by thanking all of you for your service here. I know that the job that you do is very difficult and that you have a lot to balance as elected officials. I am a taxpayer in Royal Oak. I think my tax bill in August was $8,000 and another $8,000 this month, and I'll have a few more thousand to pay in February. So I do have a vested interest in what I'm about to say. You're getting poor legal service from the Thrun Law Firm. I am a lawyer. I've practiced law for 30 years. 18 of it for public institutions like you. I've sat behind that table with you. And I've also been in the room at ROMS during a specific student's IEP that I believe that you're going to hear about later tonight. You're spending a lot of money to prevent a child from getting an appropriate education. And it's really a shame because I think if you had simply worked with the family to begin with, you would have avoided those problems from the very beginning. And the money that you've spent making an East Lansing law firm rich could have gone towards enriching the life of a child and a family that's really struggling here. It shouldn't come to these things where people have to take you to court in order to get the services that the law says that you have to provide for their children. And I'm very disappointed, quite frankly. I think this board needs to exercise greater oversight and ask deeper questions about what's really going on. I think it's really easy to villainize parents who are just trying to get an appropriate education for a child that has some very difficult challenges that are not his fault or his parents' fault. And you're all better than this. You all came into this wanting to serve the public and to provide education, not just to the kids that are easy to educate, but all of the kids that are coming to you and need your help. So I would just respectfully ask you to dig into this case and dig into these questions. I don't believe that you're getting the facts. I've been in some of these meetings, and I can tell you that some of your administrators are very dedicated. They are working in good faith, but I think some of the administrators that are in positions of authority here are not doing that, and they're not getting good advice. And I think the advice that they're getting is being colored by people who have another agenda, which is to put my money, the hard-earned money that I'm putting into the tax rolls of this city, into their pockets. So I'd ask you to please be fair about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Mosteller?
I too would like to hold off
Patrick McLean,
Catherine Allen?
Patrick. Patrick?
I'm right here, but I don't have anything to say.
Okay. I just want to make sure it says Patrick McLean, MacLean?
Yep, that's me.
Okay. You don't have a public comment?
No, I'm just confused. It's my first meeting. I had no idea.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem, thank you. Richard Misteller?
Yes, I'll also defer jumping in comments.
Okay. Catherine Allen?
I also am asking to be deferred for section 10. Thank you.
Cliff Marco?
I will also respectfully ask to be deferred.
Susan Tedesco and Mary Kay Buckley?
Also waiting for later.
Beverly Prince?
Yes, I'll wait.
Denise Thornton?
Yes, I'll wait too.
Marcella Rogers?
Hi, I'm also here to just speak about Jamie Blake's resignation. I was here 2 years ago talking to this board about the impact of special ed teachers leaving mid-year and the significant effect it had on my child. So I'm just really confused and very concerned about what is happening in the district in regards to special ed teachers. I don't believe for 1 second that a special ed teacher leaves mid-year without having a significant reason. For a special ed teacher to leave his or her students mid-year is terrible. And I feel for the parent behind me because I know how I felt when that happened to me. And I think I said at this board meeting, my child looked at me and was like, why are they leaving us? They do not care. Like, they must not care. So that's regardless of that's the message the kids are hearing. And as a parent, I'm not here to speculate why. I'm just here to say, it's a significant problem that needs to be addressed. It makes parents feel extremely uneasy about what is happening. I think last year, I know of one off the top of my head, significant person that was lost. Now there's another one in October. So I would just ask this board to also dig into what is happening. I love the suggestion of an exit interview. I don't even know who could, who would be able to do that in an unbiased way, but I feel like until we start getting some real answers as to what's happening in the special education department, it's not gonna get any better. And I wanna feel confident, I wanna feel like I have my kid in the right place, and that all of our kids are gonna be supported appropriately. So please, school board, make this a high priority to figure out why people are leaving. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa Pedrick?
I'll defer.
Michael Carmen?
Hi, I'm coming to you both as a member of the community and a teacher at the high school. And I would like to urge caution and deliberation in the search for a new high school principal. The high school has had, I think, 4 principals in the last decade, and really needs to have strong, stable leadership that is dedicated to the school and community. We have a fantastic interim principal in Angela Ashburn, and I encourage the district to wait to make a hiring decision until a truly excellent, rather than just acceptable, candidate is found. Thank you.
Thank you. David Pardo?
Yeah.
Good evening. It's kind of hard to follow a lawyer and obviously something very large that's happening. Thank you for letting me speak to you. I've spoken to Mary Beth Fitzpatrick a couple of weeks ago, contacted her through emails, and I realized that probably my dilemma is one that a lot of other parents struggle with or faced. I wanted to try to get your support and whatever it is you can do to help make or contact Smart Bus Service, our Southeastern Michigan bus service, that provides but one bus in the morning and one bus in the afternoon to get students to and from school. It is the 4:30 line. That's the route number. My daughters have been left standing at the Royal Oak bus station at 7:15 in the morning, no bus. My daughter's been left standing on Crooks Road 5 times so far this year, no bus. It is the only service. She can't do any after school, anything, because there's no bus. There's only one bus, period. There's one in the morning, one in the afternoon, that's it. Late starts cost me 3.5 hours pay every week. It's impacting my job. I'm a single father of 2 children, one at Roms, one at Royal Oak High School. And I really would appreciate any support, anything you guys can do to contact people. I've called Smart many times. They're not gonna listen to me. Maybe you guys have some other pull to help facilitate something. You're obviously not gonna provide busing for any students in this district at all, correct? Why, this is not a comment section, not back and forth. But that's what I've been told. There'll never be school busing from this school board. But your help to at least get that service to be reliable on a daily basis to get the students to and from school, and possibly an extra route for the late start when those days, there's 23 of them throughout the school year. I counted them, I printed out what you sent me, Mary Beth, I did, thank you. And then there are other half days, no days, I realize that's normal school stuff, and we'll deal with that. But I would really appreciate your help in any way you could. I obviously, that route, that 4:30 route, takes a special detour to the high school in the morning and in the afternoon, so somehow that was made possible through a request by someone. And the real problem is they do what they call cutting the line. And there is no notification or anything. And it just, we're not gonna run that one today. And I would think that if there was one bus line that they would not cut, it would be the one that serviced the school in the morning and the one that serviced the school in the afternoon. Appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will save the other public comments for the later public comment. Item 6.1, 2024 National Merit Scholarship Semifinalist. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. Come on up, Mrs. Ashburn. So from time to time, we are notified that we have an exemplary student who has participated in the testing program and recognized by this college board and this program of the National Merit Scholarship program. So I'll let Mrs. Ashburn share some details with us and regarding one of our students this evening.
All right. We have a National Merit semifinalist. Royal Oak Schools has a high school senior from Royal Oak High School who has received the highest honor from the National Merit Scholarship Program. This student is among the top 50,000 scoring on the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, which is taken by millions of students each year. Those who were named semifinalists in the National Merit Scholarship Program are among the top 16,000 students from across the nation and will be competing for $28 million in scholarships. The nationwide pool of semifinalists representing less than 1% of the U.S. high school seniors includes the highest scoring entrants in each state. The semifinalists have an opportunity to continue in the competition for some 7,500 national merit scholarships worth nearly $30 million that will be offered next spring. To be considered for a merit scholarship award, semifinalists must fulfill several requirements to advance to the finalist level of competition. About 95% of the semifinalists are expected to attain finalist standing, and approximately half of the finalists will win a national merit scholarship, earning the Merit Scholar title. It is my honor and privilege to introduce the Royal Oak High School National Merit semifinalist, Natalie Forsyth. Come on up, Natalie.
I'd like to thank my teachers and my parents for allowing me the motivation to pursue this and giving me the resources that I needed to prepare and take the exam.
She's working on completing all of her components, which is a lot of work, and she's working with our high school counselor, Erin Bodecker, and we surprised her last week with the letter, and she was done doing a test that day, so she came in. I think she was in pajama bottoms that day also, and we FaceTimed her mom, who is a teacher in the district, Rachel Forsyth, and it was a wonderful celebration. We gave her some flowers, and we're super excited for her and to see what comes of this, so congratulations.
Very exciting. Congratulations. 6.2, new teacher introduction. Mr. Walensky.
Thank you, Ms. Van Heidsma. Ms. Ashburn, you can go back to the podium. Well, as you remember last month, and as we do every year, the first board meeting after the start of school, we invite as many of our new hires, all of our new hires here, and as many as we can get here as possible to be introduced formally to you. Last September 14th, just so happened to also be curriculum night at the high school. So our high school new hires this year, new employees weren't able to join us, but many of them, most of them, are here this evening, and our interim principal, Ms. Ashburn, is going to introduce those 10 employees who are here with us tonight.
So as I call your name, come on up and stand over here so everyone can see who you are. First, we have Erin Bodecker. She is a counselor at Royal Oak High School. Next, we have Chloe Dom, who is a counselor at Royal Oak High School, and she's also, her last name, she got married, she's Beer. You might recognize that name from a previous board member. We also have Abby Sties, who is a counselor at Royal Oak High School. We have Catherine Miller, who's an ELA teacher. We also have another ELA teacher, Maria Manolius. We have a general ed school social worker, Ben Weiss. We also have our director of athletics and activities, Daniel Russell. We also have Melissa Yang, who is a science teacher. And one person who is out sick today, so they're not here. We have Jason Sties, who is not working yet, but has been hired. He is an academic support teacher. You might recognize it's the same name as Abby Sties, who I introduced earlier. And those are some of our, we have a couple people not here, but those are our new staff members that could make it tonight. They're wonderful people. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for being here to join us, and welcome to the Raven family. 6.3, mentor-mentee program. Dr. Ioannis?
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heidsma. As Mr. Walensky just spoke about, we met some new hires to Royal Oak High School, and we've talked about it at previous board meetings, and the continuous cycle of hiring continues throughout the year. So our mentor-mentee program really had to take some shifts and adjustments to better support our new staff members that are continuously being added to our school district and our buildings throughout the year. So we have Ben Rader, our supervisor of secondary education, and Ann Njovu, our supervisor of elementary education. These two wonderful leaders support our mentors and really build and develop our mentor-mentee program to put our staff members in the best possible position to support all of our students appropriately throughout the school year. So thank you both for being here. I'll turn it over to them.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ioannis. Very apropos, we're here to talk about mentor and mentee after meeting the new teachers at the high school. As was just mentioned, this program has kind of evolved over time, so we're here to really introduce the latest iteration of it, and we think it's really the best version to date. You know, and it's really, you know, to really support our new teachers. We know, you know, it's no mystery what teacher retention looks like nationwide and how important it is to support, you know, teachers that are new to the district. So let's talk a little bit about that. So first, who is a mentee? A mentee are teachers that are brand new to the district. If a teacher is brand new to the district and they have less than 3 years of teaching experience in a Michigan public school, they're with us, and they're with us for 3 years in the program. If they come to us with prior experience of 3 or more years in another public school, they're in the program for 1 year. So who is a mentor? Well, mentors are experienced teachers in Royal Oak that are experts that we can rely upon to help really mentor and provide tons of supports and resources for our new hires. We really try to do a nice job of matching up mentees with someone who is an appropriate mentor for them. So same grade level in the same building or same content area or subject, you know, if you're at the middle school or high school. So same department, if you will. We provide mentors with some training. They have a mentor handbook, and Ann and I are always available for them to provide support if they have any questions. And they're along with us for the journey. So the entire time, once a mentor is assigned to a mentee, they are that new teacher's mentor for the entirety of their time in the program. So they should be, if they're a new hire, with that mentee for 3 years. So it's a really nice experience that they have this, you know, level of commitment from their mentor teacher, and those mentor and mentees like really form a nice bond and relationship over time. It's a really solid relationship and support network. We do have some really dedicated mentors that have more than one mentee. If you think about the importance of really placing someone as close to possible as that teacher, sometimes that means that a veteran teacher will step up and say, I will take on a second mentee, and sometimes even a third, because I am the most appropriate person to mentor them, and I'm willing to take on that responsibility.
Our mentor program is framed in a balance of induction as well as mentoring. So if you look at the definitions on the screen, induction is a process of comprehensive, coherent, and sustained professional development. Can you turn it back one more? Thank you. Provided by the district to train, support, and retain new teachers. So in partnership with our Human Resources Department, we are trying to bring in our new teachers into not just the teaching profession, but also teaching in the District of Royal Oak. That is obtained by doing some after-school meetings. We actually have 5. We'll go into it in a little bit, but to balance that, we also have one-on-one mentoring time between the mentees and the mentors. That can happen anytime during the teaching day, if they can get together after school. Some do after-school activities together where they are going one-to-one and really going into the day-to-day and seeking that one-to-one support that they need a little bit more intimately at the school building and classroom level. So the element of the programs, we had a 2-day kickoff for new teacher orientation in August that went well. A lot of the people that were introduced today were part of it, and it was all about establishing those relationships. We had a very good turnout. We have
hired new staff since then, which we've brought into the folds. But while we were doing that 2 days, we covered areas such as Royal Oak Systems. We had Officer Yerke come in and talk about safety. We brought the tech team in to talk about MyStar, to how to support using all the technology that's offered to our teachers and our students, and most importantly, curriculum, what we're teaching and how we're teaching. So we had a really good kickoff. The energy was high. And then we also have those meetings after school that I mentioned. We did schedule 5 this year. We are focused on supporting and addressing their specific needs, which our first one is coming, or we had one, which Ben will talk about briefly, and it's going to be very customized to their needs. It's not going to be just stand and deliver. There's going to be a lot of networking, a lot of supporting each other, as well as us supporting them from the district perspective as well. And then, as we said, meeting one-on-one with mentors, we encourage at least 20 hours per year, and then ongoing support on all professional topics. And as Ben mentioned, we had an after-school mentor meeting where we went through our mentor handbook and discussed possible topics that are relevant to timely times of the school year. So, for example, coming up is report cards. How does that work? Maybe at the beginning of the year, it's simply, where is everything located in the school? So there's a wide range, and our mentors are excellent in providing that support.
I'm thinking about our mentor orientation that we did, and we mentioned how we would like at least 10 hours per semester and of contact time with their mentees, and how many mentors started laughing because that meeting was in early September, and they had already far exceeded that amount of time. I mean, we have really dedicated staff that are really dedicated to ensuring that our new staff are like onboarded properly, and they really feel comfortable and confident going into the school year. So that was a great experience. This is a picture from our new teacher orientation that took place in August. Lots of energy, really remarkable about how well this group, this class of new inductees to the district, bonded with one another. You could see relationships forming amongst them. So they have a support network amongst each other as well, which we think is really powerful and also, crucial in this process. Some pictures from our first kickoff meeting was right here in this room. We had mentors attend, and once again, just a lot of great energy, a lot of connections that are made. We really want to emphasize the importance of lots of relationships, and not just a relationship with their mentor, but relationships with their co-teachers in their departments or their grade levels within their buildings. And just having a support network as new hires, we think is really crucial and important as well. At this first meeting, we really listened and got feedback of what their specific needs are. What we've noticed over the years in the program is, if you went back 5, 7, 10 years ago, the traditional new hire may have only had 1, 2, or 3 years of experience. Our newest teachers have many years of experience. So we've kind of shifted, and we said, okay, we should be really listening to what their needs are. So we developed some focus groups around specific topics, and they were able to convene some great conversations around what their needs were and how they could support one another. Our next meeting, which is taking place on Monday, we've really put together a panel discussion on building classroom and communities and addressing challenging student behaviors, and that came right out of the needs identified by that group of new teachers. So it's going to be really exciting. We've got about 12 different veteran teachers and social workers and administrators from across the district that are going to participate in a panel discussion and then take questions from the mentees, and have a really lively interaction and really some strong professional learning.
This chart was presented by Ms. Fitzpatrick at our Status of the Schools, and we felt it was very relevant to this topic as well. If you can see, 50% of our current teaching staff have been in the district 0 to 5 years total. What we added to this is the number of teachers in our mentor-mentee program, and as you can see, our first-year mentees, our first-year teachers in Royal Oak Schools amounts to 46 teachers. So we have a large cohort, and then year 2, we have 17, and then we also have year 3, which there's 19, and we do more of a action research approach to year 3. They pick books that they would like to engage in as a group with book study, and then at the end of the year, they come together and share their findings through that process with each other. 17 of our first year teachers have more than 5 years experience in education, and that's very telling. And as Ben said earlier, we're not just hiring brand new teachers out of education prep programs. We have a really great balance of brand new to the profession and returning from other school districts, and it's a really great energy that we're getting between all of them when we're coming together as a group. Yes.
Can I ask a question on the slide, the pie chart? It's Royal Oak Schools teaching staff, and I'm sorry, it might just be I missed it. So the 0 to 5 years, that 0 to 5 years within Royal Oak or 0 to 5 years within teaching altogether?
In Royal Oak.
Okay, thank you.
And that actually concludes our presentation if there's any questions. So perfect timing.
Ms. Usinski.
Is there compensation for the mentor teachers?
Yes, mentors do receive compensation as outlaid in the contract.
Any other questions? Just out of curiosity, so I know that you said, as that pie shifts, right, as we're, 50% brand new teachers, and, the pool of mentors tends to shrink, right, as you have more new people. What is the highest number of mentees that a mentor has at this point?
I believe that no mentor has more than 3 right now.
Thank you. Oh, Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you. So something to note too, when we refer back to our opening week of school, and we did talk about our professional development week. We had a new format this year, as the board has discussed before, and I've shared with them. More than 70 sessions were offered to our entire district staff during our opening week, and they were staff of our own presenting to each other. So we thought they had shared with us often that they had things to share and had value talking to their colleagues. I think that plays a role now in this mentor and mentee program, because we have a few with 3 mentees, but I know our staff, whether they're a formal mentor as part of this program or not, they do the work every day within our schools, in their hallway, in their grade level groups, and then across the district when we do come together for professional development. So I think that the whole idea of support for our new teachers, folks that are new to the profession or new to Royal Oak, happens every day, whether they're in this formal program or not. And I just want to applaud our staff and for you working with our group this year as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have one last question, sorry. So is there any kind of, I want to say follow-up, not survey, but just check-in, I guess, with the mentees, just to see how they feel, everything is working out, having this mentor?
Yeah, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've run a survey at the end of the year, gathering feedback from mentees, not only about the program, but kind of the quality of the mentoring that they've received. And that's given us some valuable data in terms of kind of updating the mentor handbook and coaching up mentors in terms of what further supports they could provide for teachers and what essentially they've been asking for and looking for.
We're also asking for, as we come together with those 5 meetings, we're asking them to submit what we're calling hot topics. So what's relevant, timely for them that they'd really like to address, and giving time and space for that when we're in our meetings.
Thank you. I know it's just so important we say this to our kids, and it's the same applies to our staff, having a connection, right? Yes. So you feel more part of a community if you're connected, and we all need peers to talk with and chat with, and so I think that's great. So I'm very glad we have this program. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
6.4, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Well, thank you. I just want to share that I know our JEDI group, the district steering committee, met again this week. And Dr. Ioannis, I want to just thank you for leading that group and keeping the work moving as we seek a new coordinator for our DEI work in the district. One of the things that we have talked about before that our district is doing, and that is the set of core competencies and professional development by our staff to the staff throughout the school year, and they are working on those right now. The first 3 sessions will include why are we doing this work and having frank conversations with new staff and with all staff actually in this PD about the history of this work, not only in the district, but goals that we have for the ongoing and how to keep it moving forward. The second session is social identity profile, to dive deeper into our own social identities, understanding ourselves, and then in turn how to help students understand themselves. And there are strategies for working with children in the classroom for that. And the third session is implicit bias. And so those are the first 3 sessions that our team has come up with, and we will make sure that all staff in the district have those. And then they are currently working on a second set that will be for the second semester of the school year. I'd also like to just remind our families and our students out there that while Halloween and Thanksgiving are wonderful occasions, and we do often host activities at home and at school and in other social organizations, we did send out a note and wanted to remind everyone that it is a fun time to dress up, but it is also a time to consider our costume choices and know that some may be deemed inappropriate or hurtful to others. And so we're just asking that as costumes are selected, and we gave them some hints and tips about how to think about the costume that they're wearing and the impact that it may have on others if it doesn't represent their own culture, their own religion, or themselves. And so I believe our principals also added some other cautions around Thanksgiving and Halloween in terms of costuming. And so I want to make sure our parents are alerted to that and to refer to the newsletters that were shared by their principals as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.5, student representatives to the board. We have Alexander and Matthew, and I'll let you decide who talks first.
Well, hello everyone. I sort of think for this month, the main topic on the minds of the student body has been the selection of the new principal and the interview process. And I worked with Ms. Ashburn to sort of create a way for all the students in Royal Oak High School to voice questions that they would like to be asked of the principals. So we have recently sent out a Google form to all the students' district emails so that they can submit questions that they would have. Then we'll go through them and select the ones we find most reoccurring and best fit the climate of the student body as a whole. And those we will ensure are asked at the 3rd round interviews in the coming weeks. So I think this is a good way for students to get involved, let their voices be heard. And we recognize that we can't have every single student on the panel, but this is definitely a way for people to get involved and voice their opinions. So I would encourage you, students, to fill out that form. And you can come up to me or Alexander or any other student board representatives if you have any concerns, questions, or any other comments you'd like to be made. And I'll turn it over to Alex.
On my, excuse me, on my end, we've been, on my end of this, I've been working mostly with staff and students at the high school to gain feedback and interview them in regards to scheduling issues that have been ongoing and that I received some complaints about. Overall, that's been fairly successful so far. Today I met with building administration, and we've worked with students and staff. And I think we're coming towards end goal here and ways to adjust next year so that we work in a more efficient manner.
Does anybody have questions for our students? Well, thank you both for the work. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Usinski.
That's okay. Alex, you mentioned like some problem solving, maybe around some scheduling. When you say next year, do you mean by second semester or for next fall?
Likely for next fall. A lot of these issues are getting smoothed over right now. We're, building administration is hoping that by second semester, a lot of these issues can be fixed, but total, understanding and hopefully solution of the issue by next fall.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see you. Any other questions? Well, Well, thank you both for, reaching out to students, reaching out to administrators, and reaching out to teachers. So being those active board members, we really appreciate that and bringing the student voice forward. So that's really important. So thank you for your work. Moving on to item 7, communications. Mrs. Anderson?
We have received a few. Andrea Nevedal regarding the video of the last school board meeting, Lucas Myron regarding janitorial services, and we received an email from Integrative Public Relations Department from Central Michigan University.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8, consent agenda. We have item 8.1, payment of expenses. Do we have any additions or deletions? No. Seeing none, consent agenda passes as is. Moving on, item 9, matters for discussion action. 9.1, superintendent, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. I have a few things to cover this evening. First of all, there are a lot of celebrations going on in schools and recognitions. One of those is to celebrate National School Lunch Week. So we applaud the folks that work every day here in Royal Oak Schools with our Chartwell's food service provider. On our social media, you can see highlights and shout outs to all of the staff throughout the week from each of the individual schools. And through a generous donation from the MEMIC Insurance company locally, we were able to provide some recognition to those teachers, or to those workers, I should say, for the week. And so I just wanted to make sure that we honor them as well as thank our generous donor in the community. We also recognize the need for cybersecurity, and this week every staff member in the district was invited and must participate in cybersecurity exercises, small videos, and then a quiz after each of those videos, and those will be ongoing throughout the year. We know that the security of the data and information that we have within the district, both for staff and students, as well as other forms of communication, and frankly, to run our business as a school district, could be at risk if we all are not diligent about being more safe when we are online and when receiving text messages, links, and emails. And so I thank our technology department and Oakland Schools for ensuring that we are all aware and made aware regarding cybersecurity. I thank the board for the recognition of Principals Month. As a former principal myself, I know the value of the leaders that we have in this district and the work that they do with our students and staff every day, and I too applaud them for their hard work and dedication to our entire community, and it is a pleasure for me to lead that group of administrators and work with them, so I thank them for that. And then lastly this week, timely, but we did have a meeting with Smart Bus Transportation. I did. I'm very encouraged by the conversation that I had. I did bring to them a few things that were mentioned, but including the routes and how they serve the students of the community, and frankly, to just increase the public awareness, our families' awareness of what SMART has to offer regarding the routes themselves and some other options that I think people may not be aware of. So it was a very positive meeting, and I think our community can look forward to some more details about that coming forward from the meetings that I've held. And I believe that's it.
Any questions? Mr. Jaworski?
Mrs. Patrick, for those who are in the audience and at home, can you again review the process of the principal hiring and the DI coordinator, where we're at in that process and what that process will look like?
I can. I believe Mr. Walensky was going to cover this, but I'd be glad to do that now, if that's okay.
Wait for Mr. Walensky.
That's okay. So we have held we had applications received into the district, the posting for the new principal for Royal Oak High School, both on professional organizations as well as the site through Oakland Schools. From those that have applied, we selected candidates to come and interview with a 28-person panel, I believe it was, in 2 different rounds. Those rounds now have concluded, and we're analyzing the feedback from our committee members on those finalists, and we'll make a decision about moving forward, as the students spoke about, that round 3 to involve our students in that process. Our DEI coordinator process is running similar. We have the applications in, and applicants, we have a large pool of applicants actually that have applied for the position. We're screening those right now and inviting members to come in and interview with us, and those interviews begin next week. Sure. I did have something I forgot.
Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
I'm sorry, I did forget to mention something. So last month, we recognized some of the students from our community that are earning their Eagle Scout Award. And we do have one student, Aiden Davis, who is away at college and could not be here. And I don't believe I mentioned his name. But Aiden's Eagle Scout service project consists of cleaning out the garage at the First Presbyterian Church in Royal Oak, and then helping within their building to get more storage for that place. So I wanted to just recognize him, even though he couldn't be here, and he is receiving a letter from me, and congratulations for the work on, because I know the earning an Eagle Scout is a lot of work and takes a lot of time, so we applaud him for his efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, in your conversations with Smart Bus, I know during public comment we heard about a parent, student that got left behind, and I know in my day, the bus used to pass us when they were full, and so I'd be standing there and the bus would be full and they'd just keep on going. So you'd sit there and wait for the next bus and always be late. Is that part of the conversations as well, like current issues that may be facing students?
It is, and you know, I did bring that up, and I mentioned that I would when we had our meeting. I did bring up that, you know, when the routes do not keep their set schedule, and there are students, minors, literally waiting there to be picked up. I believe that's a fair expectation for anyone riding public transportation, that the bus comes because they have to get to work, to an appointment, or to school. And so I shared that with the committee that I met with, and they apologized and also will look into when that occurs. I do know that one of the main hubs for the buses is close to our Royal Oak High School, and so often there are vehicles that leave their yard and travel by some of those spaces that are not in service because they're en route to another location. So that may happen, but that, you know, beside that happening, I know I mentioned specifically buses not coming on time, and we wanted that to happen because people do rely upon it. They agreed, and were very willing to help solve that problem.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Any other questions? No. Item 9.2, curriculum and instruction, Dr. Ioannis.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heitzema. I'm going to start us off as we usually do, taking a close look at our Insight into Learning video for this month. We're going to focus on the student athlete. In Royal Oak schools, our students work hard on and off the field, but they definitely are students first, and they work just as hard in the classroom as they do on the field or on the court. And I'm going to go ahead and play our video now.
To me, being a student athlete means I work hard in school and out of school. I have good time management, and I'm really here for the people in school and for my whole team.
I think to me, being a student athlete really boils down to one thing, and that is like being a leader and learning how to be a leader. I think that across all grades and across all sports, you're going to have the opportunity to lead, and you just have to take those opportunities.
To me, it means to be a student athlete by juggling academics and sports, athletics at the same time, and being a part and involved in both with my classmates and teammates.
For me, being a student athlete means everything. It's my life. It takes up my entire time, but it has taught me to be a well-balanced and well-rounded person. It's given me friendships that I'll cherish forever, and I've met so many amazing people through the experience, and ultimately I would never exchange it for anything else.
There's a lot of benefits of being a student athlete. You know, I think where I am today is because I was a student athlete. It comes down to your work ethic, time management, learning how to be a follower of someone, and then you learn to be a leader. So being a student athlete, I think, is the best way to prepare you for life after high school.
Athletes learn just a myriad of lessons that translate to the classroom and their studies. Being a coach of a sport revolving around running, some of the key lessons that they would learn would be things like dedication, certainly hard work, but also kind of social skills, communication, teamwork. All of this stuff can really help them become a more well-rounded and successful student.
Student athlete is a term that I feel is really important as both a coach and a teacher. It's led with the more important word student. As a teacher, it's important to stay eligible to even compete as an athlete, but it's important to have both parts of it. Students are hardworking hardworking in the classroom, and then they bring it back and they're hardworking on the field or the court or, in our case, the pool.
Consistently, we preach the idea that playing a sport for a school is a privilege, not a right, that the top priority is doing well in the classroom. That comes first. So it means if you're a student athlete, you've got to develop time management skills. You have to be able to stay on top of your academic requirements in order for you to participate on the athletic field.
I think the most successful student athletes are the ones that take it very seriously in every aspect of being a student athlete. Student comes first, so you take care of your grades, right? You're making sure that you are on time to class. You are sitting near the front row. You're engaging in class. You're willing to listen to your teacher, get feedback, right? And then that translates onto the field as well. So you listen to your coach, and it's easier on the field because you love it. You want to be out there. You're working as hard as you can. You want to play in front of your friends, right? So you're playing as hard as you can on those game days, but it's even more important in practice. So the best student athletes are taking practice very seriously, and they are getting better every single day. They're receiving feedback from their coaches. They're there early. They're the first ones there. They're the last ones to leave. They're trying to take those steps to be a leader. And that's what we're trying to produce here at Royal Oak, are great student athletes who are going to be great leaders down the road.
So as you can see, our students are working extremely hard on the field and in the classroom as well, and definitely goes hand in hand as far as success in that area. I did want to talk a little bit about the process of how we meet here every month for the board meeting, and we end up watching a phenomenally very well put together video that incorporates all aspects of that learning theme. I wanted to talk a little bit about how that starts. Our curriculum department, led by Ben Rader, who was here earlier, and Ann Njovu, works very closely with Amy Murphy and Jarrett Grismer, and really selecting a topic each month. Once we select a topic, we have a template form that we use where our curriculum department is working on specific questions that would be good to ask for all people involved in the video that you see. Jarrett Grishmer does a phenomenal job getting out in the field, not literally in the field, but also in the classroom. And he's really our point person with the video and with the camera. He's working with people as they're answering the questions. And of course, Amy Murphy helps kind of piece that all together. So I realize that we watch these videos every month, and I probably haven't spent enough time highlighting how we get to this phenomenal process. A lot of edits throughout the way, a lot of last-second changes that the communications department jumps on right away, so we definitely appreciate that. I wanted to bring our attention to a couple things that we have talked in the past about our MyKIP update. So as a reminder, that's Michigan Integrated Continuous Improvement Process. This has really taken over and replaced the old school improvement and district improvement process, which really was more compliance-based. Some of the bullet points really that we're looking at here on this first slide focus again on compliance being as a result of the plan, as opposed not to be the main thing that's driving the school and district plans. Assessing our needs at all levels, really incorporating a systems thinking type approach and making this plan, and then really it's ongoing practice focused on specific work. This is this was one of the slides that really helped focus our attention on how it used to be and how it is now. So the MyKIP process is a pathway for districts to improve student outcomes by increasing whole child needs to develop plans and coordinate funds. On the left there, you'll see the previous structure of how things were. We would have funds, we would begin to put plans together, and then hope that the plans would touch on the needs that our students have in our buildings. But really what MyKIP really forces us to do is to identify the needs first, create a plan, and then work on the funds, which is a process that Ms. Abella has helped me better understand throughout this year, identifying the needs, making a plan, and then identifying the funds for it. So we keep that structure and thought process in mind. We have a district leadership team that's been focused on and around this work. Our most recent meeting took place October 9th, and we had representatives from all levels, K through 12, in many of our teaching staff fields and area. But really, the other component that's important is the three things we see up here. Continuous improvement, that cycle of reviewing, assessing, and identifying needs, focusing on the whole child, all parts of a student and in our building and districts, not just the academic side. the systems thinking, which is what we kind of touched on briefly, identifying the needs, putting a plan together, and then finding the funds for it. And then, of course, all of this tied in with an equity focus creates really the MyKit process. We had what's called a challenge statement last year. This small group of district leaders made up of teachers and administrators went to Oakland schools throughout the year last year. Oakland schools helped school districts identify a challenge statement. So as you can see, we landed on a challenge statement of if Royal Oak Schools establishes an SEL framework, SEL is social emotional learning, complete with professional learning expectations for teachers, staff, and support from SEL professionals, then students and staff mental health will improve. And we have some things listed there as far as, I guess those are measures that we thought as a school district would be important ways to identify if the MyKit plan and process is working in the way that we want it. Of course, we landed on an official goal, which is and was and is, Royal Oak Schools will establish and implement an SEL framework built with professional learning and consistent expectations for teachers, staff, and students. So that took us to this school year, and I want to show us one more thing. We're excited about this, so I want to share this. I apologize, it's taken a little bit longer. But as part of this process, we wanted to develop a roadmap of continuous improvement. And again, you can see here, improving the health and wellness of Royal Oak Schools staff and students is really our goal. So after going through that last year with the challenge statement, doing a needs assessment at all the building levels and a district level, we landed on this goal. And I wanted to share the 3-year plan. And again, as a reminder, this is directly, intentionally and directly associated and connected with our strategic plan. And really, it just fell that way. The needs that were brought to our attention through the long-range plan process also showed the same way through the MyKit process, which is interesting. So we're technically in year 1 this year. This is capacity building, phase 1. We talked about this at our first district meeting on October 9th. We're focusing on using the CASTLE framework, which is a collaborative of academic, social and emotional learning framework. There are 5 competencies within that framework that we're kind of working on. So really, phase 1 is building capacity for our district teams, which will in turn build some capacity at the building level, because there's some intentional planning that we're going to have in place that we'll kind of see filter down. We're going to spend the year using that CASTLE framework to identify and review social emotional learning resources and supports that we can begin to implement. As you can see, phase 2, which is really years 2 and 3, will be the implementation phase. This will be after our district team has identified the resource and the framework, and then years 2 and 3 is really going to be beginning to dig deeper into that. What that might look like, what that will look like, I can imagine, is through our professional late start times and through other professional development opportunities, intentionally finding ways to incorporate the CASTLE framework and all that we're doing with our students. And then the third phase, really, which is years 3 and 4, which is monitor and adjust. Again, this is the systems thinking approach we talked about previously, continuing that cycle of thinking about what we're committed to doing, what we're doing in our classrooms, and how we're supporting our students and staff in all ways. So I'm excited about it. I think our district staff members at all levels at the building are also hopefully seeing a connection that we're kind of intentionally trying to make. I want to talk about one more thing, because this is also important, and we're not going to meet again until next month. But on November 7th, I don't have that up here, so we'll disconnect from the screen. So November 7th is a day that students do not report to school, but it's a wonderful opportunity in the morning session, so at about 3 hours, to have professional development dedicated for all of our staff members, teachers, and paraprofessionals as well. I want to talk about the 3 levels of professional learning that will take place on November 7th. Mrs. Fitzpatrick mentioned earlier the launch into learning, and the success that really came from that was how we were able to see how much leadership and how the staff here in Royal Oak were so committed to offering over 70 sessions of focused topics that they felt were important for our staff members to learn. So at the elementary level, we're going to mimic that at a smaller scale level. An official communication to all staff will be coming out very soon, shortly from me, but really what's going to say is at the elementary level on November 7th, we will again, at a smaller scale, offer choice sessions for staff members focused on specific areas that are, again, once again, that our staff would like to build capacity with other staff members and volunteer their time. The other component we do have for the elementary staff, some dedicated not companies, but resources that we use. Bridges is our math resource that we use, so we have some people coming from Bridges company to do some, again, targeted, direct, focused training on teaching our math program. And then we'll have Ames Web, which is a progress monitoring system that we use as an option. So again, a combination of choice sessions from staff and some outside resources that we're bringing in. That's at the elementary level. At the middle school level and high school level, for the middle school, the morning session will be focused on Character Strong. It's a SEL program, one of the ones that we're going to be in process review, but it's a initiative that our middle school staff, led by Mrs. Meldrum and her wonderful team, want to incorporate. It's really focused on, again, building positive relationships throughout the middle school level. So professional development for that will be for all ROM staff in the morning. In the afternoon session, again, we're going to be focusing, this is for actually high school and middle school, this afternoon option, or not afternoon, half of the 3-hour option will be focused on MYP assessment cycles and better understanding how we're working through the assessments with that IB lens. And also the other hour and a half time for secondary teachers will be focused on project-based learning, which is another component that we've been trying to continue to increase the efforts on. So we're excited. This is all going to happen in 3 hours. I know that was a lot, but that's going to take place, and we're going to definitely have some dedicated opportunities for our paraprofessionals as well, so we want them engaged in this process as well. So that is it. That was a lot, but we're doing good things, and I wanted to share it with everybody. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Well, I know I definitely appreciate the videos. And I know I saw the one with our new officer liaison as well up there. So, you know, I really want to encourage people to go to the website and actually peruse those videos, because they're really a good summary and synopsis of a lot of things that we're doing within the district. So it's really pretty impressive. And thank you to the tech team for doing all that work. I see Amy and and Jared. Thank you for the work on the production of those videos, and Dr. Ioannis for all the preparation to them. So thank you very much. Item 9.3, Finance, Facilities, and Bond. Ms. Isabella.
Good evening. I have a short update for you this evening. Summer of 2024 will be our final phase of our 2017 bond work. We're going to be doing the kitchens at Adams Elementary and Keller Elementary, office remodeling at Adams Elementary and the Adams ECC. That design work is complete, and it was posted today. They were working on it right at 4:30, finishing that up, because all that design work getting posted on the state website takes a lot of compression on those files. Tech department worked really hard to help us with that this afternoon. So those plans will be out to be bid on for the next 2 weeks. When that's done, they'll have a bid opening for all the different bid divisions, because everything that's involved, whether it's concrete, kitchen equipment, all the different kinds of trades that go into that, is a different bid division. They'll have an opening, and Ms. Fitzpatrick usually likes to attend those with me. They're kind of interesting. After that, they'll have post-bid interviews. They make sure that those contractors have the full scope of work, understand all of that goes into that, make sure that they've included all of the items in their bid. What you will see, the board, at the next Finance and Facilities meeting, will be a chart that has all those bid divisions and all those low bidders, or the lowest bidder that had complete work once they went through all those post-bid interviews. And then we will bring that to the next board meeting in November. So it's pretty exciting that this is our last phase. I haven't had pictures in a while of all our bond work, so we'll have that coming soon as that work begins. And then we'll close out that bond, and we'll have an audit on that. So any questions this evening? All right, thank you.
I do have a question, of course.
Okay.
Or maybe just a comment, if you could just elaborate. So we know that the projects that we're doing next summer, the reason we're able to do those is because of the bond savings. So can you just maybe just make a comment in regards to the bond savings that we ended up having that allowed us to do these additional projects?
Right, so the initial bond was $59 million that we had back in 2017 that was voted by the voters. In addition, we had about another, I think, $4 million that we took from the sinking fund to have all of that work done. We worked really hard with the design. We were very thoughtful in the furniture, and we had an additional, or I shouldn't say additional, at the end, about $2 million that that was remaining. So we went back to our design work that we looked at the projects as we were working through the bond to see where might we can impact. And we felt that the offices at Adams and Adams ECC, and then the 2 kitchens at Keller and Adams. And those were initially junior high schools, and those kitchens still look like junior high school kitchens. So we felt that that was the most impactful way to go back and use those savings. Great question.
Thank you, I appreciate that. No other questions? Okay, thank you. Item 9.4, Staff and Student Services, Mr. Walensky.
Thank you, Ms. Van Heidsma. There are 2 items on the agenda this evening for your approval that I would like to talk about, and those are items 9.4.1 and item 9.4.2. Item 9.4.1 is a list of our personnel changes since we last met, and not surprisingly, we still are hiring people. We have some new hires on there, and I'll talk through that list a little bit for you. 17 personnel changes since we last met. So for your approval, 11 new hires, 1 rehire, someone who retired that we've rehired to substitute teach, 1 termination, 2 resignations, and 2 internal transfers. So I'll just briefly highlight our 11 new hires. 5 of them are paraprofessionals, which is good since those are positions we're struggling to fill. 1 speech and language pathologist for Keller Elementary, 1 academic support teacher for Royal Oak High School, 2 adult ed positions, an ESL teacher for adult education and a counselor, and then 2 substitutes, 1 teacher and 1 substitute clerk. Also on the consent agenda, we list changes in assignments. So Ms. Ashburn has moved into the role of interim principal at Royal Oak High School. And I won't say too much about it, Angela, but she retired from the district. She worked here 30 years as a high school teacher for 14 years and high school assistant principal for 4 years and elementary principal for 10 years, and then supervisor of early childhood for 2 years. Then after she retired, she came back and filled in as a substitute clerk in various roles. And we just recently asked her to fill in as interim principal, which she has been doing for us, been doing a great job. The other internal transfer I want to talk about is Rob Dedeker. Many of you know has been the transition coordinator for the district, was offered and has accepted the supervisor of elementary special education position. And Rob has worked for the district since 1996 in a variety of teaching roles. He's been an elementary and secondary self-contained classroom teacher for students with emotional impairments. He's been a high school academic support teacher, special education coordinator, and Rob, we would like to see move into that supervisor role. So I think that is now ready for you to consider for approval.
Thank you. Can I have Mrs. Haynes?
I have a question for you. The paraprofessionals, it seems to be a revolving door. What are we doing to maintain and stop the thank you, the turnover in this group? Because it's, as long as I've been sitting here, it's been an issue. And it's got to be impacting our students as well as teachers and colleagues. So what are we doing to lessen that turnover?
Well, that's a good question. It's a common topic of discussion. We do have a significant amount of turnover in not only paraprofessionals, but as you know, in teachers as well, but especially in paraprofessionals. Another item I'll talk about next is not paraprofessionals, but our continuing education staff. We recommended an increase in pay rates. So we want to look closely at what they're paid. And we're also looking closely and working with special education on providing them with meaningful professional development. But I will tell you that in the county group I belong to, this is a common topic of conversation. I don't think it's a challenge unique to Royal Oak to attracting and maintaining support staff right now. But I think 2 of our strategies certainly are competitive pay and training.
Mrs. Anderson?
We talked last week about this topic at Facilities and Finance, and we did discuss, we've had a couple successful job fairs, as I recall. Are we considering something like that again?
Yeah, I believe, well, I believe we're considering doing that again in November, which was the time of year we did our first ever job fair, and it was very successful. We've gotten pretty good with the help of Amy Murphy, our communications person, of advertising it, and it's pretty simple. We do it right here in this room for all of our support staff positions, and not just our positions, the food service employees, transportation, maintenance, custodial, et cetera.
Mr. Jaworski?
Yeah, Ms. Willis, just to be sure that every employee who is a resignation or self-separated from the district, they are offered a exit interview, correct? I mean, we can't force somebody to discuss why they're leaving, but they are given that opportunity.
Yes, to the best of my ability, I try to connect with everyone who resigns, and typically they initiate the resignation with an explanation of why. So, you know, and quite often it's been for better pay or close proximity to their home or so on, but sometimes I have to dig a little further and meet with them and have that conversation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I have a recommendation? Ms. Usinski?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education hereby approves the regular personnel changes as listed in the board packet.
May I have a second? Mrs. Anderson? Can I have a roll call, please?
I will vote yes. Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Cook? The motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Walensky?
Okay, one more item for your approval tonight, for your consideration for approval, is item 9.4.2, and that is a recommendation to increase pay rates for our continuing education and early childhood salary schedule. The people on these salary schedules do not belong to a bargaining unit. They're unclassified employees. Most of them, well, I think all of them are hourly. Yes, they're all hourly rates of pay. And we have not proposed a pay increase in 2 years, so I think they're due. The employees affected by this proposal would be our hourly adult education teachers and staff. The income for those positions is completely grant funded. And then as well as our before and after school care, those are not part of ROESA. They're not bargaining unit positions. They're before and after school care latchkey. Child care providers at the Early Childhood Center, and our tuition preschool teachers and teacher assistants, elementary school lunchroom monitors, and as well as our, there's a long list on there, our recreational swim program staff members. But these are employees critical to our success as a school district, and felt it was time that they did receive an increase in pay. And I know that this was discussed and presented to you by Ms. Sabella at the Facilities and Finance Committee meeting. So we want to stay competitive as part of our goal to retain employees in these roles as well. So I'll present that for your consideration for approval.
Any questions? I did have a question. This might be a Mrs. Abella question. For those grant positions that we have, are there increases built into the, like when the grants are written, do we build in salary increases as part of that?
We do. So most of those grants were already approved this year that these people would be within. We'll have them amended to include the increases.
Thank you. Oh, Mrs. Anderson?
Could you tell us, so will this make us competitive with our surrounding districts, these increases? Like where do we fall?
I would say that we would be one of the better paid districts and with surrounding districts, yes. Very competitive.
Any other questions? Can I have a recommendation? Mr. Jaworski?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the increase for the continuing education schedules, and it's weird because they're not in order, B, K, C, D, G, H, F, J, and L, and recreation instructional swim as detailed in the attachment.
Can I have a second? Mrs. Alexander?
May I have a roll call?
Trustee Jaworski,
Yes.
Trustee Alexander,
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma,
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski,
Yes.
Trustee Haynes,
Yes.
Trustee Cook,
Yes.
and I will vote yes, so the motion passes.
Thank you. I have to agree with him on the out-of-sequence alphabet there. Oh, there's some rationale behind it.
Sure there
Okay.
is. So each of those groups, as by title that Mr. Walensky read off, the staff members that belong to each of those work groups, within the typing and writing of the contract, they're referred to by a letter, and then under that letter, there are the names of the job titles. And so the reference for the letters is a direct pull from the contracts that they hold.
Ms. Jasinski.
I know that we kind of do this a lot because we had a more in-depth conversation about this particular issue during finance and facilities, but I just wanted to publicly state just that I'm really proud of this decision. I think it's a really good step for us, and we are deeply concerned about staff retention, and this is, a very big issue for all schools right now, and being able to offer, we know that families and personnel have to make really difficult decisions about employment, and being able to, we did look into surrounding districts, we did look into, comparable positions, and I think it's a really good statement for us to make.
Thank you, Mr. Jaworski.
And also, thank you, Mr. Jasinski, for bringing that up. I think that the pay rate that we've just voted in for especially the latchkey, is going to be a great benefit to the community. I think that with the increase, we're going to be able to attract more employees to work in that program, and I think it's going to be a huge benefit to our community and our families who need to use that service before and after school.
Thank you. Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. I also wanted to add in, Mr. Walensky did read some of the highlights from the personnel report from this month, but there are many positions on there that are also just new additions. So we add paraprofessionals to our staff as needed, and so as the need comes up, we are always, of course, looking for substitutes, and from time to time we replace people who've left, but we also create brand new positions for paraprofessionals, and I think our speech and language pathologists currently being hired are because our case numbers are so high and we need more of them. Another very difficult group job to fill. So while we do have staff who leave, we also know that as the needs arise in the district, we respond, and that is to hire more qualified staff to support our students. So I just wanted to note that as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, thank you. Do we do roll call? Okay. Sorry. Totally forgot. Item 10, it's our opportunity for second public comment. The same rules apply as earlier. I have Jim Allen. Somebody's checking right now.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I want to commend the board at the start of this meeting tonight with the words that were shared with the audience regarding lifting each other up and working together. I think those words are going to be extremely relevant in the message that I'm about to deliver to you this evening. My name is Jim Allen, and my wife Mary and I are residents of the Royal Oak School District. We are here tonight to expose the disparaging treatment, discrimination, and blatant retaliation by the Royal Oak Middle School and the Through Law Firm over the lengthy and costly battle we are engaged in over our son who is enrolled in the Royal Oak School District. He has multiple and complicated learning impairments due to a prenatal drug and alcohol exposure at an early childhood trauma in the foster care system. The school board should be made aware of the abhorrent treatment and lack of support we have received from the Royal Oak Middle School in attempting to develop an appropriate IEP and educational programming. The Royal Oak Middle School has demonstrated repeated resistance and has engaged in combative discourse towards our attempts to participate and bring ideas to the IE process and subsequent programming. The school board should also be made aware that the Royal Oak Middle School is capriciously spending our taxpayer dollars to the Thrun law firm to fight us in due process, having spent over almost $30,000 just in the month of July this year, when the school could be devoting resources to the help and place our son in an appropriate and suitable educational setting that can accommodate his disabilities. It has been clear from the onset that the school had no intention of working with us to find a solution, as a tentative settlement agreement was reached with the school, but then rescinded by the Thrun law firm at the last minute just before proceeding to a formal and costly court hearing. The school board should be also made aware that the Royal Oak Middle School made little to no effort in finding alternative schools that could accommodate our son's disabilities. While in due process, the Royal Oak Middle School decided to unilaterally enroll our son in Edison Max without our knowledge or approval. The school also shared all of our son's private medical, psychological, and educational data without our consent, thus committing multiple IDEA and FERPA violations. We have been adamantly opposed to the unilateral placement that the school has made on our son's behalf and have made the school aware of this repeatedly despite their arbitrary actions. As your opening remarks have emphasized, we are asking the school board tonight, this evening, to urge the Royal Oak Middle School to come to the table and work with us to find a suitable education program that meets our son's needs rather than fight us in a costly battle. This will go a long way in dispelling the ever-growing perception that the school picks and chooses students it wants to help and properly accommodate rather than retaliate against students such as ours that have disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Elam.
Mary Allen, resident of Royal Oak. When our son was in the 3rd grade, he was made to put his head down on the table during library time. When I inquired why anyone would do this to a student, the librarian said, "I didn't know what else to do with him." He is now in the 8th grade, and you still don't know what to do with him, despite our knocking on your door for years for appropriate accommodations and programming. We have been quiet for too long, and yet to go public like this is an awful thing to lay bare such intimate personal history. We are raising awareness of our situation with the residents of Royal Oak and anyone else who will listen. People should know that the school district is content with fighting, discriminating, and retaliating against our son who suffers from disabilities as protected under the ADA and the IDEA. Furthermore, we are also aware of many other families of students with disabilities that were afforded suitable accommodations from the school and were allowed to provide programming suggestions and were allowed to refuse places such as Edison Max, which is an inappropriate placement for a student like our son and is not an offer of FAPE. The school board should know that a new IEP mediation has been court-ordered, and your staff, or maybe your legal team, is thwarting a timely meeting by canceling IEP dates. Your administration has shown that a kid who, through no fault of his own, and has bounced around in the foster system, who has been prenatally exposed to alcohol and drugs, and has a long, complicated list of diagnoses, means nothing to them. However, he means everything to us and the people who stand with us this evening. We are never going away. Even when your administration makes outrageous and false accusations to further deter us from participating in our son's education, such as this email that falsely accuses me of presenting myself at the Royal Oak Board of Education office in June of this year. Fortunately, in the golden age of technology, I can prove I wasn't there and that your staff is intentionally trying to discredit me by providing false accusations and statements about me, meant to be a deterrent to my presence and participation in our son's education. Incidentally, this communication came in collaboration with ROMS and the Thrun Law Firm. I'd love to know how much Thrun billed Royal Oak to harass us and again divert funds that should be used to help our son. Time is growing short. We are desperate for help with our son. We implore you to do the right thing and stop fighting us. We will continue to defend our rights, but want to ensure that you have full knowledge of what is taking place within your district. I'd also like you to know in closing that your presentation is a bitter pill for us to swallow because it doesn't apply to our son.
Thank you. Jackie Piratoni.
Hello. My name is Jackie Parentoni, and I am a resident of Royal Oak, and I had twins that went through the district. Our daughter was eligible for school services through June, but she did not fully attend the high school or the Trails program, as the district did not thoroughly understand or support her fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD, and early childhood trauma diagnoses, even though I provided FASD information and resources to the staff for years. Additional trauma was inflicted on her, which still affects her to this day, so it deeply saddens me to know another family is having to endure a similar stressful, heartbreaking situation due to the failure of the school district to provide the necessary support for a student with FASD. The state complaint I filed in 2016 was resolved at the district level as the school district agreed to educate all staff in FASD. This unfortunately has not been fulfilled since the Allen family is here tonight. And there's no excuse for this, as there's a vast amount of information on FASD now. And not only has there been no progression, there sadly has been significant regression. The Allens were not given any input on an out-of-district placement that was made for their child. With our daughter, we were at least given a couple of inappropriate choices. And expecting to arbitrarily move a child in a few days with no preparation to a different school in a different district that does not even properly support FASD is setting up this student for immediate failure with disastrous results. Expecting a neurotypical child with no disability to make a change like that would be devastating in itself. If all the staff was educated in FASD as the district agreed to, my daughter would have completed her education, and this child would still be attending ROMS with the appropriate accommodations in place. Currently, there is no FASD disability category under IDEA. However, states are now passing laws to add this, so tragic situations like this can be avoided. Over the years, both of my children have had many excellent educators in Royal Oak, but without having the entire staff working together as part of an FASD-informed team, these preventable, costly, and damaging Freudian slip, damaging situations will continue. The amount of money the school district has spent on my child is outrageous as well. Countless taxpayer dollars have been wasted. As I would tell the administrators, you're spending $1 to try to save a dime. By providing these students with individualized program they need, they deserve, and they're entitled to, it would not only be the ethical thing to do, it would be a lot more economical as well. I have also had...
Excuse me, can you wrap up, please?
Okay, I thought we
Thank
had
you.
6 minutes since
It's 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought I got 3 plus 3. Okay. I also have had false accusations made against me by school administration as a mean to deflect their responsibility, and I know how frustrating this is. The alum's child personal information was shared without their consent, yet documents in my daughter's files were never shared with me. Also, the alums were not able to have a reduced schedule for their child, yet I was unable to have my child attend school for more than a few minutes or hours per week. Very inconsistent policies. We are good families working very hard for our children who have been adversely affected by prenatal alcohol exposure and early childhood trauma, something these children would never have children to deal with for the rest of their lives. We just want them to receive the education they deserve in the individual ways they need to support the FASD diagnosis, not by behavior modification, consequence-based techniques, or applied behavior analysis, all of which are known to be detrimental and exacerbate their symptoms. Therefore, I am strongly requesting that the school board look into this matter further. It's too late for my daughter, but it is not too late for the Allen family and other families who may be experiencing this kind of injustice. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Jody Mosteller.
I don't think I'll give you 3 minutes. I didn't come prepared, but I am the aunt of the Allen child. I wanted to give you a picture of my nephew. Cute, curly hair, beautiful personality, warm, so warm, he melts your heart. But he also has challenges dealing with people who don't want to have patience with him. I spend time with him, and he's so generous. He's a loving kid, but he's not going to be a kid much longer. He's getting older, and time's running out. I see your plan here. He could be part of it, not as extensive as what the normal, quote-unquote, normal kid has, but he can benefit from some of it. He's open, he wants to be wanted, he wants to be loved, and he wants to be part of a community. That isn't existing right now in his age group. God love him. That's all.
Thank you. Richard Mosteller.
Good evening. I am Richard Mosteller, and I am the uncle of the child in question, granduncle actually. And I don't know all the ins and outs and the intricate details of all that's gone on, but as my wife just expressed, we do know their son and what a wonderful person he is, and it doesn't look like he's getting a fair shake. And we would just like to help attest to the Allen family's dedication, obviously, like many parents, to their son's well-being, education, and success in life. And it appears that our challenges are being thrown up to their ability to accomplish that. And I would hope that this body, in some way, can help remove some of those challenges and help pave the way for a program or the access to a program that will truly allow for a child to fully develop their potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Catherine Allen.
Family is in force here tonight. I'm the paternal grandmother. I'm also an educator, retired educator, and my field was oral creative arts. My sister has just upset me. No, she didn't upset me, but she upstaged me, and she's younger than I am. I'm supposed to teach her, but she's teaching me, gratefully. I just want to say that as an educator, when my grandson came into the family, I had a keen observation of his stages of development. Want you to know that. And I also and so that I recognized from the very beginning his worthiness as a human being. Jody said it all. He was cute. He was tons of fun, very active energy. But the family met that with their dedication and turning the focus of their lives on this child. And they did it collectively and held within the family grasp. We were all involved. That's rather rare these days. I want to make that note, and I would like to see that preserved and supported by this institution. You are all educators. I don't care, a pile of papers, and you have more papers than you have students in front of you. But those students in front of you are impacted by your digging into what is actually going on. Is it in relation to what's on the paper as to the programs designed? Are these things being followed through? That's the question in my mind. Because earlier this evening, I heard of the high turnover in the special education department. That's very interesting. Mid-year resignations. What's going on? Have you any real idea of what is taking place? And I think the evidence is here tonight that there is something missing in your understanding of what actually takes place, and that the amounts of money that are being spent on paper with a legal fight where there should be between family and educators and a common understanding of the humanity that is involved. We're talking about the future of our nation. That is becoming very clear to all of us now with the events in the outside world. This is something within our scope that we truly can do something about, changing the direction and bringing, yes, love and respect for each other as educators and participants and guides and leaders and our young. And you can take the example of what happens within a family. I concede the rest of my time. And I thank you. I want to say thank you, by the way, for this opportunity. I wasn't expecting to have this. And I think it's wonderful within your organization that you provide this opportunity to us.
Thank you. Cliff Marco?
Good evening. My name is Cliff Marco. I am a homeowner, a taxpayer, and an attorney here in Royal Oak. I am not a member of the alum family, but I am a neighbor. And I live about a block down the street from the alum family, and I know the young man very well. I've known him for several years, and I appear before you today as a character witness. Before I talk about his character, I want to say, as an attorney, I am all for large legal fees. But as a taxpayer, I have to wonder what is going on. And I hope you will share that wonder with me, because what is going on here? I know their son. I've known him for years. He's a wonderful kid. He's hardworking. He works for me part-time occasionally, helping me with landscape, helping me rake up the leaves, helping me snow blow in the wintertime. He's reliable, he's on time, he's honest, he's hardworking. He is a very productive, wonderful member of this community. Now, I've been sitting here today listening to you talk, and you talk about very high ideals. Ideals of inclusion, of opportunity, and of excellence. And I have to wonder if you, in this case, will live up to your own ideals. Because here's somebody who needs your help, he needs your attention, and he needs your investigation, as I do, as a member of this community, as to what is going on here. And I wish you will look into this, and I wish you will come to the right conclusion. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate you all.
Thank you. Susan Tedesco and Mary Kay Buckley.
Hello, I'm Mary Kay Buckley. My sister couldn't be here today because she's ill, but she also very much supports the Allen family. I'm just here to talk about mostly knowing Mary. I'm a real estate agent in this community, and people like to come to Royal Oak Schools because of the excellence. And it's sad for me to see that one of the members of the community, the Allen son, is getting missed somehow. And I really have faith that all of you will look into it because he's such a wonderful person and a wonderful family. Mary works for me a lot, and I would say probably 1 out of 5 times when we're working, she gets called away to have to come back to school to pick up her son because someone doesn't know how to take care of him, educate him. And she's lost an amazing amount of money. She's a very, very talented real estate agent and wonderful with people. And the way that she and Jim take care of their son, and also their daughter to take care of their son, is just really amazing. But they do need help. Really need help. So we're all here to support the family and to ask you all to please do your very, very best to try to get to the bottom of why their son is not getting the help he needs, and many children. So that's all. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get so emotional. Thank you.
Thank you. Beverly Prince Sayward.
Hello, I am Beverly Prince Sayward. I am a resident of Royal Oak and a taxpayer. And I'm a retired teacher, but not from this district. I just wanted to say that I'm friends of the Allams as well. And I just think that if this is one child falling through the cracks, you have to ask how many others are falling through the cracks. And we're not, all children deserve the proper education that is applicable to their particular needs. And I know it's expensive sometimes, but it seems like you're spending a lot of money to fight it, and maybe that would be better used in helping this child and others also that have the same problems going on. So I'm just here to support them and their cause, and hopefully all children will get what they need from the district. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Thornton.
Hi, I'm Denise Thornton. I am a Royal Oak resident and taxpayer as well. I'm going to stand. I've been sitting all day. Patrick and I, we lived across the street from the Allams for 3 years, and I can honestly say that all the wonderful things that you've heard about the family is true. And I didn't know that I was going to speak tonight, but when I heard you guys talk about your DE&I initiatives, then I started thinking about inclusion and what is an inclusive school environment. I think it's giving access to all students and meeting them where they are and giving them the same access to an educational environment. So, so that's what I wanted to say, and I feel like right now he's being excluded. And if you really just think about what that means and what type of school environment you want to offer, and if you really do stand behind your DE&I initiatives, then please, consider offering an inclusive environment to everyone. So
Thank you. Vanessa Dietrich?
Hi, good evening. I want to thank you all for giving us all the opportunity to sit before you and kind of talk out what is really happening with the alums. I'm Vanessa Dietrich. Former resident. I'm also a graduate of Royal Oak Schools. I went to Franklin, Keller, and Dondero, most leveled, but still there. I've known Mary and Jim's son since he was 8 months old, small, fragile, and in need. And this is heartbreaking. As possible parents to children, I'll never understand how anyone in a district can turn a blind eye to a family and a child that are blatantly suffering. I'm disappointed to hear how much the special education department is struggling not only to retain teachers, but also to provide necessary services for the children trusted with their care. I'm disappointed that all of the new teachers that just joined the district walked out after their introduction. That shows a lot about their interest and commitment to the district, and that signs their paycheck. I'm disappointed that there is no longer a committed director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It disappoints me that a school would rather fight a family emotionally, legally, and underhandedly when they have the opportunity to truly change the life of an African-American boy and his family by providing understanding, collaboration, and services to not only stand by the family as they navigate the world with a special needs child, but to also show that child that the Royal Oak schools are here for him, irregardless of his difficulties, irregardless of where he came from, irregardless of the problems that he has that were not brought on by him. He will not be shipped out or dismissed because his disability is complex or requires a little more education and care for your teachers. He will not be left behind because of his struggles and differences. The Royal Oak schools should be ashamed and embarrassed at the levels of animosity and pushback they have given this child and his family for requesting services they are required to provide, as well as the money wasted that very clearly could have been better spent on services or salaries to help with the clear retention issue that the special education department is clearly facing. Why? What's the reasoning? How can anyone with a heart for children, a heart for education, be okay with this? What has this child done to deserve to be shut out of an educational system designed to help him because they don't fully understand him? If we as a district and a society cannot do the very best by our most vulnerable and our most in need students, there is no diversity, equity, and inclusion, no matter how fancy your slideshows are. Parents should not have to beg, cry, and gather an army of friends and family to sit up here and cry, to convince a district to help. Children should not have to convince a district they are worthy of their time, resources, support, and love. I stand with the Allen family and their son, and I will continue this until this matter is addressed ethically, honestly, and with the shared goal of giving a child the best possible outcome and the confidence that he is worthy of the district's time, resources, and dedication. And I believe that you all bear a huge responsibility to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Zay Winters?
Okay, hello. I'm Lisa Zay Winters, and my daughter is a student at RUMS. I wasn't really planning to talk, and set my timer. Okay, so, but listening to the story of the Allen family, it's just, you know, a lot, and it's so much about what I've been working for and Rampa has been working for. And so what I wanted to start with was, like, first, you know, I was going to come up here and kind of, you know, talk about, like, I really do believe that you all are committed to this work, that your intentions are good. And I do believe that I do believe that, but I think that the intentions don't matter when the result is, you know, a student being excluded from his education due to discriminatory practices. And so some things that came to mind as I was like listening to the presentations, what we need in terms of DEI work, and especially, you know, we always talk about like the DEI work is both about racial disparities, but also students with disabilities. What I saw here tonight is a presentation that started with student athletes, and my question was like, are there no Black student athletes at Royal Oak School, Royal Oak High School? So there's that optics, which is kind of superficial, and then we went into the social emotional learning goal framework, which was really thorough. And I wondered, well, why don't we see that same kind of thoroughness and concrete planning around DEI practices in the district with concrete goals, metrics, and ways to understand if things are successful. So that's part of the issue. And I think that for too long, the DEI work in the district has been additive. So even with, you know, and I was really, you know, appreciated that the district reached out to RAMPA and reached out to the JEDI committee to hire the DEI coordinator to participate in that process. But there was no reaching out to JEDI to participate in the hiring of the high school teacher. And so I'm like, well, doesn't it matter if the high school teacher has an understanding of best practices in DEI? And so, and finally, you know, just thinking about the ways that the district could actually demonstrate real commitment and thinking about what this family is going through. And it hurts my heart. And then as a couple people said, if it's happening to them, who else is falling through the cracks? And also, what about the families that do not have the resources to pay for a lawyer? I cannot imagine how stressful this is for the family. But you really, I just hope you really just sit with what you've heard tonight and sit with it with a DEI lens, because this is very much about excluding a student based on their vulnerable status in terms of race and disability. So thank you.
Thank you. Lydia Elshakwana, I'm sorry.
I was already up here once. I just had a few comments based on things I had heard, and I'm not going to be half as eloquent as the people before me, but my son is actually in this situation, so I just want to touch on Jamie Blake again. From things that I have been told and understand, but also just to tell you a little bit about her. I had the pleasure of meeting her in the spring before my son transitioned over to the middle school, and I had a lot of fears about Royal Oak Middle School, a lot of fears over things that I've heard. It seems like every meeting I attend, all things seem to revolve around the middle school and the issues there. So I was really, really struggling with that, and I came out of that meeting feeling so reassured and just moved by her passion for what she does. And I would just like to say that her leaving is, I can't speak for her, but from what I understand, her leaving is not about money. Anybody who knows her, she is so ingrained in the middle school and helping the students there, all students, not just her special education students. It's not about money. I think we've heard a lot about the main theme of retaliation that's going on. I think that's something that needs to be, as everyone is saying, dug into. She went from 3 paraprofessionals. You talked about hiring all of these new paraprofessionals. She went from 3 to 1.5. So in all the hiring of all your new paraprofessionals, she went down. I also think it is important to note that she requested an exit interview and she was denied. So that is why I am here. I really, really urge you. She is resigning on the 20th will be her last day. That's 6 school days to speak with her and find out, because your staff is in fear of the retaliation if they speak out, your current staff. And just finally, to echo the sentiment of the parents here, how many more stories do we need? How many more students and families and teachers need to be driven out of this district for there to be an established pattern for you guys to really take this seriously? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11, board comments liaison report. Do we have any comments? Mrs. Haynes. First, I want to thank the Allen family and all of the friends and family that came today. Your passion did not go unnoticed. I am heartbroken for you, so we've all heard you. But I also wanted to take a moment to address some of the issues and comments that were brought up at last month's meeting with regards to the retirement of Mrs. Lewis and the exit of Dr. Kim. Of course, this was cause for concern, and I was pleased that so many of our parents and our community members came to voice their concern. A comment that was made regarding the makeup of the board is still in my mind, and I wanted to state that our board is not made up of all white individuals. Neither is our school district. I am a first-generation American who is proud to be of Maltese and Arab descent. I, too, would like to see more diversity within our school district, leadership, and on the board. And with that, I would like to encourage our parents and community members who are passionate about our students, teachers, and district to consider running for school board. There will be 4 board positions open up for election next year. The campaigning and election process does take time, and there is a lot to learn. But what you learn from it is priceless. Being a part of this school board has taught me so many things that I would not have otherwise known. I am grateful for the opportunity, and I am open to speaking with anyone who may be interested in running. So please, if you are someone who is just as passionate as anyone that was here tonight, and you want to make a difference, and you want to find out what really goes on, please reach out to one of us. Please consider running. It can only be better by having more diversity and more passion on the board. That's all. Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Jasinski.
As a civics teacher without civics students in front of me, I'm going to do a little just kind of PSA. Last week was Voter Education Week, so I wanted to just make sure that we're making that information as accessible in public as well. I liked our little pitch for even running for office, but if you're not ready for that, the most important thing that you can do is vote and participate in our local elections. October 23rd is the last day to register to vote online or by mail, and after that, you have to vote. You have to register to vote in person at our city clerk's office. She makes that very, very easy. We're very, very lucky to have Melanie Hallis as a great advocate for voting access and voting rights in our city. Because of the passage of Proposal 2 on the 2022 ballot, we now actually have early voting in the state of Michigan as well. So that's going to be a 9-day window where you can actually go cast your vote in person ahead of that election in November. That's going to be held at the Senior Center on Murray starting on October 28th. So if you just want to get this off your plate, but you don't want to vote absentee, you can go vote in person with a ballot machine starting on October 28th. Election day is November 7th. I know that the local elections get a lot less attention and they might get a lot less, we're not on CNN and MSNBC talking about our city commission and school board elections, but local elections matter so much, and I think tonight has been a really good demonstration of how much influence local elections, both school board and city council, do have on people's everyday lives. And so I just wanted to take a second to do that. Go to michigan.gov/vote for your voter registration status.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski.
Like the other side, do you want to thank the Allen family and the community that's come out to support them? When I wrote that statement earlier today that was right at the beginning of the meeting, and I talked about community and what it means to be part of a community and what a community does, it was greatly demonstrated tonight. And I commend all of you for being here and opening our eyes to your concerns, which we may not have all known about. So I do thank you so much for that. Also, I want to congratulate the Northwood Elementary School on their extra super great successful fun run. They've raised more money than I ever imagined that you could raise by running around on the grass. But yeah, they had a great event, and it's been my pleasure for the last 2 months to be assigned with the Northwood parents and the PTA.
Any other comments, liaisons? I wanted to do a shout out to the city actually for affording some grant opportunities to some of the nonprofits within the city. I'm also on the Royal Oak Schools Foundation Board, and I know we were able to apply for one of the grants that the city has open. And so I appreciate the support of Mrs. Fitzpatrick and Dr. Ioannis on being able to submit a grant to further expand some of the programs that we have. So I'm grateful for that and grateful to the city for offering that. And I'm grateful to all of our principals in Principals Month. Just, you know, it's a busy job. It's a lot of work. I look at Mrs. Ashburn, and I'm grateful for her in her interim service here to come into the high school, and I know our students, I'm certain are grateful for that as well. So I truly appreciate that, and I don't have anything else. Oh, yes, hi.
I guess as a closing point, I acknowledge like our community and our students do have concerns that they would like voiced, and I would wanted to inform about an opportunity coming up. Ms. Fitzpatrick and board members are going to be taking some time to go to lunches at the high school within the coming months, and there's one coming up relatively soon, so she's going to be putting out a promotional video about that, and there's going to be a sign up. So I encourage you, if you're a student at the high school, please sign up. I will be there. Other board representatives will be there, and Ms. Fitzpatrick will be there. So this is your opportunity to sort of have a more informal discussion with the board and sort of voice your concerns in that format. So I would really encourage you to sign up, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you. Alex.
I'd just like to thank Ms. Ashburn for her service. I appreciate you for coming back out of retirement.
I see no additional comments, and seeing no additional comments, meeting adjourned.